Happy Monday to you. We are ready to get started with math today. Let's look at our standard for today. I can use the area model number line to represent mixed numbers with units of ones, tenths, and hundredths in the fraction and decimal form. So what we're doing today, as you saw in the video, we're just pretty much switching back between fraction form and decimal form. It's going to be really important that you read the directions today because that's going to tell you what form you're going to write it in. So part one here, record these mixed numbers as decimals. So we've got one whole, and then we put our decimal, and we have 15 hundredths. 1 and 15 hundredths. Notice the 15 goes over to the hundredths place. Just a reminder, you got the ones place, then you've got the tenths, and you've got the hundredths place. Okay, so tenths and hundredths. When you have a decimal, it's not a zero in the hundredths place, then we read this as 15 hundredths. We don't say 1/10, 5 hundredths. We say 15, just like we would if we just saw that number by itself. We would say 15 hundredths. So that's what all these are going to look like. This next one is the whole number is 2 and 47 hundredths. You see the pattern here. We're just writing the whole number, putting a decimal, and putting that number. Yeah, this is pretty easy. 2 and 95 hundredths. You guessed it, 2 and 95 hundredths. We just have that number in the hundredths place. We know that's right. Okay, let's look. We got a whole bunch of examples on this week's problems, really. 7 and 52 hundredths would be 7 and 52 hundredths. So just switching back and forth between fraction and decimals. Really, the difference this week is we're really getting to the hundredths place. Now, let's read the directions for number 2. Write the equivalent fraction and decimal. So we're writing fraction and decimal for 1 200ths. For 1 200ths. That's weird, isn't it? So it looks funny when we have this 1 200ths, but we call this unit form. It means we have 1 in the ones place and a 2 in the hundredths place. So it would be okay to say and 2 hundredths, but this is called unit form. So we're going to see this today. So 1 and 2 hundredths. Now I wrote it like this because we have to write the fraction form. So 1 and 2 hundredths. Now in decimal form, be careful. We don't have any tenths. Excuse me. We don't have any tenths. We have 1. We don't have any tenths, so we're going to put a 0. And we have 2 hundredths. So 1 and 2 hundredths. Now, notice if we just have that one digit above the 100, that's going to go in the hundreds place. If this was 1 and 22 hundredths, there would be a 2 there, wouldn't there, in the tens place, but we don't have any tenths. We just have a hundredth. We have 2 hundredths. So be careful on these that you don't put that number in the wrong place. Number 3, write the equivalent fraction and decimal for 1 and 17 hundredths. So we're going to have a little different this time. So 1 and 17 hundredths. So we see now the difference. See that 2 just went in the hundredths place, but this time we have 17 hundredths, so it's going to look a little different. It's 1 and 17 hundredths. So we're going to have a number in both places because 17 is a double-digit number. Makes sense, right? 2 is just a single-digit number, so it's just going to go in the hundreds place. But 17 hundredths is going to go in the one. We have 1/10 and 7 hundredths. Okay. All right. Moving along. Next one, same thing. 2 ones and 8 hundredths. Fraction form. 2 ones, 8 hundredths. Notice this one. Again, we don't have a double-digit number on top, so we're just going to put that 8, not in the tenths place. Don't put, when you see one like this, don't put 2.8. That's 2 and 8 tenths. That's not right. We're supposed to write 2 and 8 hundredths. So we got to make sure we put the 8 in the hundredths place. So 2 8/100ths. Again, if we don't have any tenths, we just put a 0 in that tenths place. So be careful with those. Next one. We've got 2 ones and 27/100ths. Okay, fraction form. 2 27/100ths. Decimal form. 2 27/100ths. Next example. We've got 4 ones and 58/100ths. 4 ones and 58/100ths. Decimal form, 4 58/100ths. Next one, 7 ones, 70/100ths. 7 ones, 70/100ths. 7 ones, 70/100ths. Now, yes, there's a 0 in the hundredths place, but we've got to show hundredths. So we need to put 70. If it just said 7 7/10ths, we wouldn't need to put that decimal. It's an equivalent. 7/10ths is the same as 70/100ths. You know that. But it says 70/100ths, so we have to put that 0 in the hundredths place. Okay, number 8. 7 ones, 13/100ths. 7 ones, 13/100ths. Decimal form, 7 ones, 13/100ths. This is easy, isn't it? Next one, 7 ones, 3/100ths. That's one of those tricky ones. 7 ones, 3/100ths. We're not going to have any tenths, are we? Because it's a single digit number above the 100. 7 ones, 3/100ths. Make sure you put the 0 in the tens place if you don't have any tenths. Last page of examples. 7 ones and 3/10ths. So it changed it up on us. We changed from hundredths to tenths. 7 ones, 3/10ths. Decimal form. 7 ones, 3/10ths. Uh-oh, it's going to trick us again. 7 tens, 3 ones. Fraction form? There's no fraction. 7 ones, 7 tens, 3 ones is just 73. Decimal form. 73, we could say 0.0 if we wanted to. Okay. All right. So be careful in those last few. It might try to trick you, but just think about place value and you'll get it. There's your examples for today. Go give your assignment. Let's try.